being overpowered by a man. That was, even today, sometimes it doesn't haunt me anymore in terms that it disables me, but it's still, it's incredible when I think about it, how I here was at home in the farm. I was able to castrate and handle, big animals, and here I was frozen stiff and inactive and incapable of defending myself of a man that later, when I saw him later a few times too, and I felt like if I had just known what he was up to, and if I had known where it would have led to, I could have broken his neck. But the tragedy then is the victims, they are frozen stiff. It's then, and it has nothing to do with physical strength, what have you. You are boxed in an environment that is totally unfamiliar with you, and you're given no chance to defend yourself. You are pounced on until you are totally devastated, and that is the real tragedy.
I'm very, very glad that, first of all, I'm glad to have known you the last few years, and I see that God has really healed your life, and that you've regained this area of your life. And I think, I really see that your faith and whatever else that you did to help yourself, that you triumphed over it, even though I know that, at times it's I'm sure hard. But I'm very thankful, to know that you overcame it, and also that there's a lot of, it's not only women and girl children that are abused, it's boys, it's teenagers, and there's, so I wanted your story, hear your story, because it is really important for people to see that it's not just females, etc. And if you could, before we end, if you could just share a few moments of how your faith helped you, or whatever that helped you to overcome this.
Well, I don't even recall going back to praying. I mean, I grew up in a Christian family, but I don't recall even seeking spiritual counseling. I was never really exposed to that. What I feel very tragic too these days is that I didn't have a relationship with my father nor with my uncles, who were actually preachers, where I felt it was safe to go and confide. I eventually had a very nice girlfriend from Germany. Her name was Gisela, and that relationship allowed me to confide and tell her my story, and she accepted me the way I was. My first initial part of healing, in a long healing process, that was about 2 years after this, no, probably even 3 years. So 3 years, not a word was said by me, and that was rough. But I remember it was a great step forward already. That was just by sharing and being accepted what happened to me. But then it was again, I had many female encounters just to prove myself that I'm not a homosexual too. And it really dawned on me that the reason why I had so many sexual relationships was when I heard my English girlfriend telling her story, what happened to her. And so I thought about it, and that was, I believe, had much to do with my one-time bad homosexual experience. Then, years later, about 20 years later, a friend of mine introduced me to MRA, which means Moral Rearmament. It is a Christian organization that helps individuals and organizations and even nations to come to terms with each other who had been at war before. And it was in one of those meetings, it was a prayer meeting, I remember, it was that was mid-90s in Victoria, BC. I was part of that organization. And I hadn't planned really to talk about it, but somehow the prayer atmosphere presented itself in such a way that and I don't even really know what prompted me to share what I had wanted to share. But I do remember I was talking about this situation in a rather impromptu manner, and some people may have been surprised about it because they probably didn't know about my story. And one lady by the name of Imelda, she stood up once I had finished my story, came to me, put her hands on my head, and prayed a prayer. And that prayer was really an act of liberation. I was somehow freed. I was. It was really a miracle, and those experiences have never since bothered me on an emotional level. So an emotional experience was transferred into an historical experience. Of course, I will never forget that, but I was liberated, and that was drastic. So I will never forget that. That was, if you want to put it that way, within minutes, and it was incredible, and I'm so grateful, and I really felt free ever since, even hating that man. I feel more grateful in terms of it all happened before the AIDS, the AIDS disease kicked in. When I think about it, I could have been dead a long time ago. And so in some sense, I feel like I experienced God's grace.
Thank you very much, Peter, for coming and sharing your story. And once again, I know that this story will free many people. And with that, we will end. Thank you.